Hey y'all, today we are talking some more layout designs. I know I said third time was the charm, and I think what I did before I left for Brickworld was definitely the solution. Not solution, in the right direction. We're gonna go with the right direction because I don't think there is any sort of solution is the wrong word because solution implies that that's the end, and it's definitely not the end. Um, so we're gonna talk through a couple ideas, and I would very much want some feedback on these ideas. So if you could please make sure that you leave some comments. Um, if you like my ideas, if you think they're crap, or if you have something better in mind that you think I should try or at least look at. I am very much open to ideas, and let's take a look at what we're doing today. Okay, so excuse the mess. I'm still in my back from Brick World mode, and stuff's still kind of everywhere, and I haven't really put a lot of stuff away because I know I kind of want to change things. And so I haven't been motivated to put stuff away because I know it might move. Um, so this is kind of where we're at with this all currently. Um, and I'm going to talk about where I'm going to expand some things and then what that might do or what the intention is. And then I need to maybe explain how I kind of want to see that maybe executed. And then you can let me know if you think this is a great idea, if you think this is an awful idea, or if you have a better idea. I am open to all of those things. So first, let's start down here. Hi, Harley. Um, okay, so I have down there 60 more inches of room, which means I can add 6 more widths of base plates. So that's another 18 base plates down there. And so there's kind of a twofold thing that needs to happen down that way. So first and foremost is this side of the layout is the only side that has trains. And I have 2 Bricklink sets coming that are train related. That means they need to fit on this side of the layout. And so the expansion point here is where those need to go. And so my initial thought is to split it right there where the table splits, which is right at that waterfall, because I think that's a pretty natural splitting point. Shift that whole thing down to the end. Those can go somewhere else, because that's going to be a problem with that Daily Bugle and the Town Hall and anything tall that I put down there. But that go all the way to the end. Split this and then do a little like train yard, train station thing here because I need to get the Brick Cross train station in here and the train shed. There's a couple problems though. Both of those sets are actually larger than I thought. So I got to actually build a little bit of the Brick Cross station when I was at Brickworld. And I thought it was only a base plate wide. It is actually a base plate and a half wide. Which creates some issues because this is only 30 inches wide, which means it's only 3 base plates wide, and that's a full turn of railroad track. And so there's no straight part in that. And so I had originally thought I would just get a slightly smaller radius turn so that I would have 1 base plate of straight in the middle and then one base plate of radius, another base plate of radius in the back. And that would solve my problem because maybe I would only run like a shorter train that can accommodate that turn. I would suspect, I don't know if the Emerald Knight would make the turn. I don't know if the Hogwarts train would make the turn, a tighter radius turn. I think both of the express trains, so I have that one and then the express passenger, the one from a couple years ago is kind of hidden underneath here. I think that would make the turn because it's shorter. I could also just run like a trolley down there or something. But it being a base plate and a half really kind of fouls up that plan. And so I don't know if maybe what I need to be doing is all of this. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and a half. Base plates just needs to get tacked up on the end of this and just make it one long raised strip. And then I can take this train track all the way along here and somewhere I will need to be able to recess the shed back one to get this front line by it, and then the shed sit over one, and then continue on down. And then it would need to traverse back to the backside because the train crosses in the back of the station. So I don't know if that's really a great solution or not. Because then I would also need to make a room for this kind of turnaround. So I would actually probably need to split it like here and then move all of that, find somewhere else for that, which is not a huge problem because that can probably go over in the new kind of downtown core area, if you will. So that's not a huge problem, but it does create some problems, right? Because, I mean, honestly, this could get pushed up against this, and that would look fine. I could do a little bridge going across the river here, which would actually look pretty cool. So I think that would work, but it definitely is not the best solution, especially because I'm thinking that the train station needs to, like, service this area, right? Like, that's why there would be a train station there. And so that leads to some issues, to say the least. And so I don't know if that's the right answer. There's a lot of things that are it's just a very tight thing. And I don't know what the best answer is. The other possible solution is down here. Okay, so there's the door to come in the room. I can get away with slowly kind of edging out another base plate or two by the end so that I could, in theory, loop the train track around and come back around, put the train station on the inside, let the train pass on the backside with maybe up to 4 or 5 base plates down there, and then come back. So that's also a possibility, but then the problem becomes, how do I get the train from here through all of this to down there? This area here, while it is tall enough to fit a train, the underlying structure was not designed for a train. So that leads to some issues, but I also kind of like this being in back of my desk so that I can sit there, and when I do videos or whatever, that's kind of like the background of the videos. So I kind of like that being there. So maybe fixing up so that a train can pass through back there, I can automate the switch in the back so that when a train comes around from, when a train goes through this station and goes around and comes under, it can go straight through. But then I'm going to need a loop back down there, which is a whole lot of room that might take up that entire area down there. And maybe that's okay. Maybe that's the train station and the train shed and all of that down there, that then the train station kind of services this. That all happens down there. And so maybe that is the solution, and it's not a bad thing to get this figured out. I actually saw a really cool solution at Brick World Chicago. So, I don't know, maybe that's the solution to all of this. Don't know. I might also be able to kind of rework this a little bit so that I can make this kind of a Y, YWYE in train terms, so that there's a switch that goes this way, a switch that goes this way, and a switch that goes straight across. It kind of makes like a V type look. And so that way it could maybe come either way. That way it would only need one line going down that way. Maybe that's the solution. I can shorten this up a little bit so that the turn actually kind of comes in closer to this, so that I would have a little bit more room to do the Y, W-Y-E again, not just Y, although it is kind of a Y. Anyways, so maybe that would help that situation of getting a singular line down underneath this like downtown core entertainment governance district into a circular train pattern down there. Maybe that's the solution. I don't know. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about through this. I think at some point I'm going to clear out that corner, and I'm going to lay down base plates on the floor and lay out some track designs and see what kind of looks good. I'll make sure to video that. But I'm still kind of in the process thinking because the train shed won't ship until for another week or two. And so I won't have that for another little bit. And then plus till I get it built, you know, we're looking at end of July, probably, maybe even early August till that's even a thing. So, you know, I'm not in a hurry to do this, but I also would like to get this figured out because I don't like to be sitting on stuff that wants to get into the city. Okay, so that's the one expansion point. And then let's look at the other expansion point. So the other expansion point is on this side. And so I have, again, excuse the mess. That obviously has a home. I have 2 to 3, at most 3 base plates of width here. And this is 5 deep. So I'm gaining, you know, 10 to 15 base plates of room, which is awesome. And is probably the best place to add this growth for some of the overflow, especially if there's going to be stuff coming out of that other side of the layout. So that has to come to this side to find a home. Having that depth of space is going to be huge, especially because there's going to be another modular coming later this year. December 1st, I think, is when that's looking to come out. And so that will need a home. I have no idea. I've not heard any rumors of what it is yet. So that's going to need a home as well. And so, you know, thinking ahead, I need to have a place for that as well. I've also got a couple alt builds that I have the parts to do that will need a home at some point. So a couple things that I'm thinking here. First, if I really truly get desperate for rooms, this and this is that burnt to a crisp copy of the pet shop that I bought for a steal. So that can just go away. Like that can just get put on a shelf, put in a box, stashed underneath the platform, and used as just filler. So I'm not too concerned about room per se. But, you know, if I really push comes to shove, I can pull those. There's extra room. That's all fine. But, you know, now the problem is, and I don't want to say problem, that's not, because this is a great problem to have, is now that I have this review copy of Ominous Isle, I have an official copy coming. And I would like to keep, because I would like to keep the box. I like to keep the, you know, and I would like to keep this all together because this was super awesome. This is my first free set that I was ever given for a review. And so I would like to keep this all together as is. So, you know, I'm a little bit torn about what to do now with a second copy that wasn't originally in the plan. And again, I'm happy to have a second copy coming. But it leads to the space thing, right? And not space as in space the theme. Space as in where does it all go? So I'm wondering if I just leave this whole thing as is. Again, my table's split right here. I just move this whole thing down 2, 3 base plates. And then I gain a ton of room for another Ominous Isle with all of its extra things, right? It pulls it away from the fortress a little bit, which opens up this pathway. And then, if that's all happening in kind of the back, I can actually cut the beach kind of on a catty corner coming forward and gain some more room for some things if I need. And so I think that that is the best answer for that. I think that the whole double height thing needs to stay. This rock face I am going to kind of bury into the side of Ominous Isle. That's going to kind of feed into that. And so I think that that's the right answer there. And maybe with the extra room, I can actually kind of clip the corner on an angle a little bit and bury Ominous Isle, kind of, not bury, but kind of work it into the cliff face. Similar to the way I did the El Dorado mock with, you know, being built right into the cliff. I'm wondering if maybe that's the answer here. The other thing that's going through my head, and I hate to even say this, but I am wondering if I should be making the El Dorado mock a little bit more portable and so I could take it to a Lego show if I wanted. I've put a lot of work into it. I think it's really cool, and Brick World Chicago did not have a lot of pirate stuff, and so I think this would be super cool to take, especially if I'm gonna build Omnis Isle into this side. This could be a really cool kind of big pirate display, both featuring Imperials and pirates. Usually it's one or the other, or very small of one or the other. I think this has the potential to be large of both. And so I'm wondering if I need to be kind of thinking about that. I talked with a guy, Brick Stuff, that does lighting, and I'm going to talk to him about getting some parts made so that the cannons will fire all together from the pirate ship and then into that. And he's actually the one that asked if I would ever consider bringing my Dorado mock somewhere. And my gut answer was no right then, because it's very flimsy. I know y'all haven't seen me moving it because I don't like to film moving stuff because I know I'm going to drop stuff. But I left all the modules kind of intact and then built this kind of as a filler. And so it's not connected, and therefore it's not very solid. It just doesn't transport well. Even though it's on a mill's plate technically, it doesn't transport well. So I'm wondering if I should rebuild that in a way. Rebuild's not the right word. Modify it so it's actually connected together and therefore very solid to move, and maybe do a little bit more of a rock face on this side instead of get rid of all this up top here, and actually move this back so that it's right up against the garden. And then it would be very easy for me to take this to a show, because I would have a rock face on this side, a rock face on this side, and that would display really nicely. And so that's kind of where my brain is with that. But I would love some input on thoughts about that. Again, I mills everything, so moving it isn't terribly difficult, especially now that I've moved the garden with 0 problems, which I know is probably just a fluke and what's that? Be like Ginner's luck. But so I'm wondering if I shouldn't lose this, but it right up against my garden, at least on this side, and do a rock face up and do some sort of like capping thing so it caps right up against. Sorry. Right up against the edge of this, which isn't terribly difficult to do. I would lose this entrance, which is perfectly fine because they can walk around to either side. So I don't think that's a real loss. That's kind of where I'm thinking with this. Am I crazy? Let me know in the comments if you think I'm crazy. I'm perfectly fine to think that I'm crazy, or to be admitted that I'm crazy, because, anyways. So that's kind of where my brain's going. I need to kind of think through, because that's like when I start into that project, that's going to be a commitment, and definitely something that's going to have to like happen. I don't want to say quickly, that's not the right word, but like it's something that's going to be a process, and it's going to go through the process, and I'm going to have to see it all the way through. I'm not going to be able to change midstream of that, And the other thing with shrinking this right up against is that's 8 or 9 studs that I will need to make up. And so I will need to push this right up against the track. And so what does that look like? And what does that look like from a mock perspective if I were to take this somewhere to display? I don't know what that process looks like either. Maybe I kind of catty corner this off a little bit and do some rock work so that it's kind of like coming into the mountains. So the rock work kind of continues all the way around. That might be the thing to do there. I don't know. And you know, I've thought about on this side doing some snot technique of rock work rather than the burp thing. So I would have those burps to use on this side to keep this side matching, and then do a different type of rock technique on this side. Again, just to kind of differentiate and break it up a little bit. So, yeah, so that's where I'm going with all of this. Let me know in the comments. Please comment. Please let me know what you think. Because there's just a lot to think about here. And I know some of you out there have great ideas, and I would love to hear them. So thank you so much for watching. If you stayed through with all this chaos, I definitely appreciate you so much. And thank you for watching.